we head on into Game 3 of today's matchups in the Pacific Championship Series, where PSG, the flawless team so far, is going to take on Berjaya Dragons coming up next. But before that, a big thank you to our sponsors, CTBC Bank, China Airlines, and Chonghua Telecom for making all of this possible. And how are you feeling about this one, Nightstar? We had a really close game by PSG in the first one, and now they're up against Berjaya Dragons. Is this the one where someone is finally going to knock the king down?
Potentially here, I would say PSG, they came into this day probably a little bit more relaxed, knowing that it is 2 games on the slate here, and perhaps not having the game plan written down to a T, but they still have to deal with all the firepower that is on this PSG Talon roster, as there's, of course, no changes to the starting roster.
We did have a very good game 1 for Maple, where he took down the MVP and 12 kills to go along with it on the LeBlanc. I'm pretty sure that one's going to be joining the ban list from Berjaya's side. On the other parts of the map, River, even though Xin Zhao, he did get a pentakill on it, he seems to be a little bit too ham with the champion at times. And the early games on River Xin Zhao haven't been all that impressive. On Berjaya's side, we have Arashi starting in the jungle today. It looks like they're going to continue with this lineup, where an Enzo, their original jungler, is now moved to the support position. Arashi, once again, with the beautiful pink ear headset setup right here. And this is a team where I feel like they're almost like Machi Mini, where they really like to play through their solo lanes. And their bottom lane is typically their sort of weak side, I would say. On one of the highlight matchups for me especially is Minji against someone like Maple, where both of them are really adept at assassins.
Yeah, this should definitely be a very fun matchup here, coming in with the solo lane setups. However, the more important factor here for Berjaya is how they're able to perhaps lose gracefully in that bottom side, because K2 and especially Enzo, who's just transitioned to that support role, while K2 has had a lot of experience in the AD carry role, Enzo might be a little bit lost against someone like Kaiwei.
We'll see how the bot lane pans out as we take a look at the AD carries. K2, definitely one of the rare hyper carries of his team right now. Very few players are rocking 30% of the team's damage, so he's definitely carrying in that regard. But PSG, perhaps not surprisingly, is going to triumph in the KDA department. That's about a 4 times difference right there. 25.3 KDA. That almost feels like a typo. It's too good to be true. But with how dominant PSG has been, I could see it.
Yeah, and Unified only pumping out 26% of his team's damage, but that's because pretty much everyone on that squad is pumping out large amounts of damage, you know? River is having terrific early games. Yes, he's going a little bit ham. Hanabi, not too shabby in that top side, had a bit of a rough game in the previous game up against Top King's trademark Irelia. We'll see how things change this time around against Ozzy, as hopefully Berjaya look to get an advantageous matchup for either Ozzy or Minji.
We're going to go straight into the draft phase. PSG taking down Ozzy's Gwen right off the bat. The Leona going to get taken away as well with the Lee Sin. And on Berjaya's side, they have had enough of this Aphelios coming out from Unified. Going to take it off the board, and River doesn't get to play as Xin Zhao. So PSG switching over to what is the most common draft pattern that we have seen in the PCS so far. Viego flex pick early, while Berjaya Dragons, they can answer back with... I'm just looking at this.
It's not the Bard.
Are you guys Kaiwei?
It's probably
this makes
not
a
the
lot
Bard.
more sense.
Yeah. The Thresh left available, they'll go ahead and lock that in. It opens up the possibility of something like a Jinx. There's also a Kali LeBlanc still available. As we're going to scroll through a couple of picks, it could just be Arashi securing his pick here, as it does look like they're tending towards the Volibear, so decent flex potential and also just pretty solid early game power when it comes from the jungle, and really good weak side potential if you're playing it top side.
We have seen a lot of these Thresh plus Hyper Carry Aphelios or Jinx compositions just love to use the Volibear. He's a very good tank in the front line. He's very strong in the weak side as well. Not easy to dive someone like a Volibear who gets extra HP. So far, we haven't seen Arashi's other champions. He's played Lee Sin and Lee Sin only, so we'll get to see what his champion pool really looks like. On PSG's end, they are going to go for the Ziggs. I have to say, a lot of the Ziggs today have had great performances. We had a great Ziggs game from Wako as well. Not able to clinch the win, but still did a large amount of damage. PSG going to tie that up with a Rakan. Kind of an interesting combo right here. Rakan doesn't really have the same burst potential like the Leona, but can stun more targets, or crowd control more targets, sorry. Berjaya are going to take out the Akali. This is something that has been almost permabanned against Minji. He's very good at assassins, and I'm glad to see him have a go at it.
Yeah, PSG, interestingly enough, just go ahead and give away that Akali pick, as they definitely had the potential to slot that in over a Ziggs or even over the Rakan, but they value those two picks a lot more apparently, as we are into the second phase of bans. It will be LeBlanc taken away, so definitely a warranted ban against Maple after his last performance. And then it'll be interesting to see if they decide to target yet another ban, as it will be the TF, as that's a bit of a surprising ban here because of how good the Akali is into that TF with how much kill pressure he has. However, they just want to limit, of course, those cross-map plays or instant rotational plays coming in from Maple.
Seems like Berjaya Dragon's giving a lot of respect over to Maple at this point. If you didn't catch the first game of the day, what happened was Maple basically 1v2'd and then 1v4'd, got kills and bursted someone down, and then just won his team the game. So I am not surprised to be seeing LeBlanc permanently on the ban list here. Berjaya, they are a team that likes to flash Teemo a lot. I'm not sure why. Oh, but they are going to go with the Draven. This is a fun one. Let's go.
It's time. It is time.
League of Draven.
Exactly. Into a Ziggs who has a very weak lane phase. This is really all about trying to take advantage of it. Now, for the side of PSG, they still could have the option to go ahead and move the Ziggs into maybe the mid lane if they really wanted to, if they really are fearful of this Draven pick. But it's not exactly a great escape route going into an Akali either. So I love this draft coming in from Berjaya, just trying to really take advantage and snowball around these two picks.
You have to really love the Draven. So many players have been flashing it. It's been permabanned against Doggo, but K2 is stepping in and saying that he's going to have a go at this one. PSG on the flip side, they will lock out the last pick with the Lucian. Could still go into multiple lanes right here. They can swap around the top and mid depending on the matchup. So they're keeping their options open, while Berjaya Dragons have to lock something in for Ozzy. We have seen mainly just Gwen Viego from him. Renekton is still up, and I think that would be a strong pick in this situation. But they are going to think about this, and finally they do lock into Camille. Likai's been having a great performance on this one, and I did say that Berjaya are kind of like a mini Machi. So very similar draft identities coming through on this one. We'll give them a bit more late game and engage potential. But looking at these comps overall, what do you think are each side's win conditions?
This is going to be a very lane-focused game, in my opinion, because of how volatile these lanes are, right? You have Camille, Viego, and you have Lucian, Akali, and then you also have the Draven, Ziggs. So there could be very lopsided lanes after 10 minutes just because of how focused it is around these lane setups. And then, of course, those mid-game team fights are largely going to be dictated by how large those lane advantages are.
Yeah, talking about lopsided lanes, I do want to set the grounds right here. I think mid and bot are so one-sided that unless there's jungle interference, it should definitely be just like a domination from Lucian over Akali and a domination from Draven Thresh over Rakan Ziggs. That should be the way it goes. So, like you said, if the jungle is able to flip just one of these matchups, it's going to be huge because neither of these teams are really playing for team fight compositions. They're much more like scattered, skirmishing type of comps. The 5v5 isn't all that important for either team, and that's why laning is even more amplified, as you were suggesting. So we're going to see who comes out ahead in a lot of these matchups. We definitely expect Lucian to have a fun time against Akali, especially pre-6, excuse me. And in the bottom side, we have seen Dravens just dominate the Ziggs. It's very easy to disrupt the satchel charges. He just has so much damage early levels, and Ziggs starts out with one of the lowest armor numbers in the entire game. So, Unified and Kaiwing, they are the best bottom lane. Okay, maybe Dago and Kino are the best bottom lane now, but Unified and Kaiwing are definitely top 2. So I want to see if K2 and Enso, with the superior matchup, can flip this one.
Yeah, this is like a very dominating matchup too, because Rakan has also a very, very weak lane phase. So just based on the two champions, it should be Berjaya just running away with this bottom lane, but it's not all about those matchups. It's also about transitioning your leads into trying to win some of those early objective fights, which could be a little bit difficult here because it is Draven, fairly low range champ, into a Viego, Diana, and of course the Rakan when he actually becomes a champion later on. It's could be incredibly troublesome, but pincer onto Arashi here. Good pathing.
We're going to see a cheeky level 1 coming out, and they do get the deep ward in onto the jungle. As we said, a very laning focused game, so any of these deep wards can be extremely critical, as you can play aggressive on the other side of the map where the jungler isn't at. Talking about the runes just a little bit, we do have sustained runes coming out from Minji, Fleet Footwork, and Hella Blades for K2. This is the typical rune for Draven, but it's been such a long time since we've actually seen a Draven in the PCS. Maybe we should explain kind of the setup for this pick here.
Yeah, it's really just pumping out maximum burst damage. It's pretty much the 80 carry version of Electrocute, as most of the damage is, of course, focused around auto attacks, and Maple also gets a brilliant start, as it should be pretty one-sided matchups, as you said, when it comes to mid and bottom lane, and it's all about accumulating as much of these leads as possible and then seeing where you go with that. Is one of the drawbacks, I would say, of this Berjaya composition with the Draven is they really want to transition into a 1-3-1 setup, and Draven doesn't necessarily supplement that because he doesn't have great wave clear if he's in that 3-man group.
Yeah, also has fairly low range. That's the biggest trade-off of Draven. He's a win lane or go home sort of champion. Probably the most extreme one that we have ever seen in the game. However, in this matchup, he does get a lot of value with the stand aside. He can actually stop the Rakan engage as well. You are not unstoppable in the grand entrance. So we do have River just pathing downward directly, trying to help out with his lane. We could see that PSG are very aware of how one-sided this matchup is. Unified stayed back the entire first wave. He's just like, nope, I'm not even going to walk up. I'm not even going to attempt it. Yeah. And also, K2 does get the best skin. That's the caster skin. Shout out to our profession. So, we've got a rep for that one. In the meantime, we do have a visit by Arashi here, probably to set some wards. We'll see if he's going to drop vision down. He is going to scan the inner try and find a ward there. In the meantime, they do get a great death sentence onto Kaiwing, opening him up already, taking him down to about 200 HP before he's forced to use the pop. And in the meantime, as we usually expect, Viego having a good time in those melee versus melee matchups.
Yep.
Just getting about a small CS lead, plus an incursion onto the Kruk camp. Ozzy does go in, but does not land a hook shot. Great dodge there by Hanabi. He's going to trade back heavily. And it's actually a pretty even trade, but the wave is bouncing back with his jungle close by. So
Dive
definitely a win there. PSG, this is going to be very dangerous. Let's see if Enzo can find the crowd control. They're heading in. Arashi also has a stun here. Kaiwing trying to stay underneath the tower. They flash in directly for the kill. Kaiwing does get out. Ignite ticking on him. And first blood goes over to Berjaya, but they do trade 1-for-1 on that one. And the kill actually ends up on Enzo. Probably the last member they wanted on. But if you get an Ignite kill, can't really complain there.
Yeah, and that dive, while it was well thought out coming in from Berjaya, it makes a lot of sense. They have a large wave stacking up, and it's a very weak bot lane duo. They weren't able to finish off the kill in a very clean fashion. So it ends up trading 1-for-1. Unified, able to secure all that EXP and a decent amount of gold in that wave. So not too much loss for him as well. So I would say PSG come out ahead because of how little resources they had to invest for a 1v1.
It's pretty big for Unified. He isn't even forced out of lane, and he's still holding onto the teleport. So essentially, he's going to have like 2 extra buys on that one. We're going to be taking another look at how this all transpired. You can see Berjaya going in very ham for the first stun onto Kaiwing, trying to kill him off of the first rotation, but unable to do so. Unified actually gets a satchel charge and stops an auto attack to keep Kaiwing alive for that split second. And massive Ziggs performance coming out from his side, and he even gets to decide to hold on to his teleport here. This is massive for the Ziggs.
Yeah, it's really just a really big win for PSG in that bottom side. And for the side of Berjaya, it's trying to reattempt that same gank. Stack up the wave, make sure that your jungler starts pathing bot lane, and hopefully this time around you get the kill onto K2. But both sides understand that's the game plan.
We're going to have a 3v3 that's going to develop. Enzo showing his cards very early on, but doesn't find any crowd control. Kaiwing just throwing out the Gleaming Quill, and both sides disengaged. Berjaya don't really want to take that one. They know that Diana is in the vicinity. Meanwhile, Maple just opening up on Minji, taking him very, very low. That is definitely within kill distance if he gets the flash in and the auto attacks. So Minji has to pay Lucian his respects. Backs out of the wave completely. A 20 CS advantage coming in for Maple early on.
Massive advantage there, and because of how much the game is being dictated by this bot side, that's why Maple's been able to accumulate this lane advantage. Everyone's distracted by what's happening bot side. So credit goes out to Maple for taking full advantage and really putting pedal to the metal in that lane. Minji is going to really struggle, and it's all about that first team fight for Berjaya that Minji has to really perform. Otherwise, he might just be out of the game.
For sure, Minji has to find some ways to get back. Most likely, like you're talking about, some takedowns and skirmishes and team fights to get him on even footing. But for now, he has to sit back here. We do have a sizable lead in terms of experience on River. Did tick over to level 6, where Arashi is still on level 5. Was able to steal away that Kruk camp. Enzo goes a little bit wide with the death sense. Doesn't find the engage. And K2 falling incredibly low. That was a very nice chain of abilities right there. Unified taking K2 back into Kaiwing with the satchel charge. These have been some of the best satchel charges we've seen from any Ziggs player on the day. And that gets the summoner away from K2. River setting up a gank on the brush. Let's see if Ozzy will bite right here. Hanabi probably wants to play dumb a little. But looks like River's just there for the wave bounce back. Nothing much happening here. Well, we have Arashi once again heading into the bot side. Let's see how PSG plays this one. It seems like PSG are keeping this distance throughout most of these. And Arashi, once again, before he can strike, has to clear out the wards first and give PSG early warning.
Yeah, there's definitely a small timing there. If the wave was in a better position, that they could have just straight ran for Unified and executed the dive, but as a result of the attention coming in from Arashi on that bot side, River gets a free Rift Herald. So a massive objective win coming in for PSG, and it will help even out the fact that, well, bot lane is not really playable. No mana left on Unified, and there's a large wave coming into that bot side. They could just farm quite a few tower plates for this Draven right here.
Definitely feels bad for Ozzy, as there's not much he can do. The dive comes in, Ozzy has to flash out, still holds on to Hextech Ultimatum, but doesn't look like Hanabi's going to let him live. They're going to go directly on him and finally do get the kill. Nothing traded back. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, they finally are able to pick up Unified, waiting for the last auto attack to come through. It will be taken by Arashi, but the tower trade definitely in PSG's favor as that Herald is dropped. So first brick gold going to go over to the Viego, and that's a lot of gold being funneled his way. He can definitely start to snowball this game away into his favor. But I think the pressure was definitely needed bot side. Finally, we do see K2 coming out with a sizable lead. 20 CS up at this point, and it looks like Berjaya Dragons will also take down the Ocean Drake for their troubles.
Being able to secure Ocean Dragon is really nice here for the side of Berjaya. Get that started, get a little bit extra lane sustain for some of these solo laners. But at 10 minutes into the game, does feel a little bit late, as Berjaya are kind of going to be the ones that want to up the tempo, per se, and force PSG's hand. And they do want an early dragon to allow them to actually enforce this 1-3-1, but so far the 1-3-1 seems a little bit rough because their solo laners are very far down when it comes to gold.
We don't really expect to see the 1-3-1, I think, for another 8 minutes at the very least. At this point, PSG are starting to roam their lanes. Yeah, I think 8 minutes is even generous. When you have a roaming Viego, a long lane top, and Ozzy so far behind, it's probably going to take a while. Meanwhile, I do want to touch on the itemization coming in from K2. Essence Reaver has been a favorite for a lot of Draven players, allows you to just spam those spinning axes. But in the meantime, Hanabi, with that first brick gold, you definitely expect him to win out these trades. He also has the Mythic Edge, and we do see Ozzy not trying to fight anything. He does come out with a very late call, just saying, you know what, I don't think I can even contest for the next couple of minutes. I'm just going to sit back and farm.
This is a really rough build coming in from Ozzy because he's gotten for the late call very, very late. As it is, I think he got it at around, it was basically when that tower went down topside. So that was about like 9.5 minutes-ish. So very, very late. He's not going to cash that in for a long time. And that it really shows what Berjaya are trying to do. Not fight for a very long time.
Yeah, it really takes you about, I'd say like, even at 8 CS per minute, it takes you about 10 minutes to get that fully stacked up. Now PSG with the stack on the right side, they do find Arashi, take him down immediately. Minji already low and not able to fight back whatsoever. Still holds on to the second proc of the ultimate. Won't be needing it necessarily to get away. As we were talking about, PSG, they have so much control because of the mid lane matchup, because Diana is ahead, and when Arashi comes in to help, he accidentally walks into a death brush. Doesn't even get a chance to pop his ultimate before falling down there.
And that was actually a really well set up bait there, bait and trap coming in from Maple, just playing very far forward, trying to get Berjaya to bite, and they do bite. Minji, though, still wants to be able to fight for this wave, knows that he's on a recall timer anyway, so goes ahead, trades as much of his health away for damage, and PSG out to almost a 3,000 gold lead. Dragons up in 2 minutes. We're going to see, I would assume, PSG try and contest for this one, as Rift Herald, while up in 90 seconds, you're not going to get as much value. So I would prefer them to invest for this team fight, but at the same time, I can see them trade Rift Herald to avoid fighting this Draven.
Yeah, either way, PSG could take it. Definitely the higher percentage play is just the Heralds, since they don't have to run into K2. But honestly, with this type of a gold lead, they could do either. It really is up to them which path they want to take. Taking a look at the bot lane, I like this from Unified. He's finally going to go for a bit more wave clear here with the Luden's Echo. And honestly, watching this bot lane is so painful as someone who has played a traditional AD carry. There's just a point in time where the mage can full clear despite how far behind he is in lane. It's like, I'm 20 CS behind, but you know what? We're not even going to trade blows. I'm just going to sit at my tower, full clear the wave, and there's nothing you can do. Worst comes to worst, I'll just clear it with my ultimate. Minji is getting collapsed upon from all different sides. 4 members around the mid lane here for PSG. We don't find the trigger necessarily. Minji gets stunned up, but does get time to pop the shroud and will walk out. However, it gives over a lot of positioning advantage to PSG as they have double pinks inside the river and have full clear of any Berjaya Dragon vision.
And it looks to me that they're just going to go for a bit of a reset here and perhaps try and get both objectives at once. As we know, PSG, they like to get the maximum as Hanabi. Well, Ozzy, he's just waiting. I don't think anything's ever going to come of it. He's chilling. Might be having a drink.
I think he's just...
I don't know.
He's kind of just waiting for Hanabi to leave lane. Like, can you please go? He's just there to suck up the EXP and just wait for a Home Alone situation where he gets some fun times with the wave. Well, with Ozzy this far behind, I definitely think that PSG is going for the greed is good route. They're going to wrap up the Drake, and they also have great vision control on the top side. They're just too far ahead at this point.
Yeah, the items are just a little bit better here at this point in the game, while there isn't too much of an EXP lead, which is really nice. So Berjaya, the game's definitely not over for them, but we're starting to get into that one fight territory, and by that I don't mean that one fight decides the game right there, because that timers are that long, but it's just the fact that you need this first fight to go well for this Draven, or you're pretty much dead in the water, because he's accumulated infinite amounts of Draven stacks. If he dies in this next fight, well, he's got a dead passive. If he cashes in onto this next fight, well, he gets infinite gold.
It's a fun thing to point out. I really want our observers to show us at some point how many stacks he has. The Adoration also gets you extra stacks if you full clear a minion wave, so he should be on a lot of them, judging by how the laning phase has gone and by the CS lead that he's acquired so far. So I'm going to be paying extra close attention to the left side of our mini-map here to see if we can finally catch a glimpse of that one. It does seem like K2 is well on his way to the Immortal Shield Bow, getting that sustain in. On the flip side, though, PSG are able to shift pressure across the map so beautifully. Viego with the lead there. They know they don't have to pressure too hard here. Ozzy's not going to be in the equation whatsoever, and they just continue to bully Minji. Minji needs a kill or takedown, just get him back into the game. He's fallen so far behind in the laning phase, 44 CS behind, and they're just consistently just picking on him in the rotations. Minji has no wave clear. Let's just take his tower wherever he is.
Yeah, it's very similar to this Draven in that he needs this next fight to go well, but it's for opposite reasons, where he's so far down in gold, as we get to see 400 stacks, as it will be more after this wave, but that equates, I believe it's 3 gold per stack. So that would be 1,200.
But I'll definitely check.
So that would be about 1,200 if it is 3 stack and 800 if it's 2. But possible pick here.
We have the catch coming in here. Hanabi is going to go down, and that is the start that everyone needed. River, however, going to fly in. Enzo with the box severs PSG's composition, and they're not able to find a response. However, I can feel that you are very upset K2 didn't get that one.
He narrowly missed it. It was probably 20 or less HP with that last spinning axe ult there. So it's just narrowly about to cash in on the biggest jackpot in history, but we will have to wait for the next fight. It was still a really good pick for Berjaya as they take advantage of Hanabi once again, getting a little bit too far out. And they just had numbers there first. So credit goes out to them, but next dragon, 90 seconds. This is... because it is the second dragon for both teams, there's really a number of ways both teams can go about it. I would assume PSG will for sure try and contest it because they also have gold advantage, but Berjaya have a lot of options as far as do they want to postpone trying to cash in onto that Draven, or do they feel the need to go now? I think either decision would make sense.
Personally, I want to see them fight. I want to see them cash this out as soon as possible. You don't really want to be running Draven in the late game. Not that great of a champion. PSG are going to open up on Arashi that was spotted on the brush, and the quickness is even used to catch up to the bear, but the dark passage is there, but they don't get it to drop. Oh, a lot of wards coming down to prevent Arashi's escape, and that should be a very open Drake with the opponent jungler already down.
Yeah, really,
that was a great catch, and you could see how far PSG was willing to go for that.
Yeah, really nice catch out there. Making sure to throw down that control ward, of course. This strategy, well documented, especially at Worlds for Uzi. That's why he ended up retiring.
R.I.P. I wanted to say I don't think so necessarily, but let's be honest. 2018, not winning Worlds was probably why.
Yeah, the control ward was the career ender there. If they remove control wards, maybe he comes back. Yeah?
I don't know what the game's going to look like without control wards, but yeah, sure. I mean, I would trade control wards for Uzi. I definitely would make that trade. Uzi's a lot of fun to watch. But coming back into this one, I do have an update on the Draven stack mechanics. It is 2 gold per stack, and there is a 25 base for just getting the takedown. So
still infinite gold.
Oh, it's actually not takedown. He actually needs to get the kill.
Yeah, he needs to get the kill. But he still would get almost infinite gold from that first kill here, as he's sitting on 530 stacks. So that's
1,085 gold.
Yeah, that's bonus in addition to the 300. So that's a BF sword.
Ooh.
Bada bing, bada boom.
That will surely take him back into the game. I could see that happening. He's been doing a great job just farming up stacks, but I'm going to get so sad if he finishes this game without getting his adoration. Arashi again going to be opened up on Maple on the back. Doesn't find the last 2 shots, and Berjaya Dragons have just been running away for the last couple of minutes here. No real chance of even finding a takedown, and Midji goes solo! Oh, he keeps himself alive. The Scorch nearly takes him out.
That also could have been a Leandry's difference. The tick on the Leandry's might have been enough, but of course you get a little bit extra burst damage from that. Man, my brain just went kaput there. From his mythic item here.
It's okay, it doesn't matter, because the team fight is happening. Your brain can go out the window. I can carry this team fight. The TPs are coming in. Whirling Death goes through the entire team, but doesn't find Unified. Arashi is way too far away from the scene, but in comes Ozzy to go onto the back line. Unified is the target. He's dead. He finally gets sniped out. Lucian, in the meantime, though, does finish off the kill on the other side. Can K2 finally cash in? No, River is still alive. No! He gets a double. He cleans up, and he saves the team fight. K2 goes down, loses his stacks.
We've now witnessed the largest tragedy in the history of League of Legends.
He was farming the entire game. He was 240 CS, but he doesn't... Like, I don't even care if Berjaya can't win the team fight. At least get the man some gold.
23 minutes into the game, and the dream has died.
Blue team's turret has been destroyed.
The teleport comes through. They want to try and contest this Baron. It's very clear that they want to try and contest it, but they're just here way too late. And with how much damage that they're packing, they don't take that much damage from Baron. So when the fight starts out, they're still very healthy. And while they are able to delete Unified, the formation is just all over the place. And that really allows these solo laners that are so far ahead at the moment to take control of this fight.
Oh, River buys so much time with the Zhonya's and then the flash out. K2 was chasing him the entire team fight, but wasn't able to get the Moonlight Priestess. Okay, actually, that's a Warcraft character. Man, never mind. He wasn't able to get Diana. Oh,
and now he's back
that's
to
just so
160
frustrating
stacks.
to watch. You lose 75% of your stacks on death, and we're just never gonna get the dream. PSG, why do you have to be so good? PSG, give the other team a chance, okay? We all want to see some Draven mechanics.
Yeah, if you're not gonna pick Draven yourself, at least let the Draven somewhat succeed, right? That's the idea.
Yeah, don't you like the League of Draven? He's also on the caster skin, the best skin there is. Looks like Captain Flowers there, and I guess PSG doesn't even like Captain Flowers, maybe. Okay, their Twitter is probably gonna nail me for that. Never mind, I did not say that.
Twitter fire about to come out, but yeah, now it's Ziggs sieging, and they just have to try and force a play. Here's the teleport coming in from
here
Minji.
comes Minji. He's going into the 1v4, is in the Shroud, and gets no damage off.
Hello,
just
goodbye.
Walks back to base. That is painful to watch. Minji also takes a bunch of damage. The Quick Nix comes in, and he doesn't even get to use his ultimate before dropping. PSG now closing down on the base, 5v4. On the side, Ozzy is still trying to find an angle to engage. He's trying to cut the wave, but PSG just say no and continue on onto the siege. Come on, K2. At least get one kill. You need one kill this game. All I need to see is one kill from K2. Get those adoration stacks. Get rich or die trying. That's the motto here. Enzo gets open on. Ozzy goes in, but he doesn't have enough damage, and River cleans up the entire back line. There's the double kill. 14-5. PSG improved to 8 wins and 0 losses.
PSG, they basically said in this game, yeah, game number 1 of the day was really a fun game, and this time we're just gonna make sure it's clean, concise, and don't give our fans a second heart attack as they go ahead and really dominate this game. And unfortunately for K2, he got no bones, not a single scrap.
I just want to cry. My soul's been crushed. My spirit is down, and I have to willingly submit to the dominance of PSG as they go on and pretty much clinch themselves playoffs at this point. In the spring split, the team that got playoffs, it was 6 wins to playoffs to guarantee yourself, and PSG are far beyond that point. And it is an 8 playoff team format, so we could. There are some fringe scenarios where they could still lose out, but it's looking exceedingly difficult for them to drop. So congratulations to them. They keep ahead from Maple. This is probably one of those games where I felt like Maple was just the clear backbone of the team. He didn't do anything flashy, but he just kept Minji so far behind that they couldn't do anything on the map.
Yeah, and even though K2 was so far ahead from that lane phase, because he was really the only person ahead, that meant there wasn't enough damage to help facilitate him getting that first stack, and they really tried in that bottom lane, but well played from PSG to keep that kill away.
A moment of silence for K2 and his stacks. May you rest in peace. May you continue to pick Draven. There will be a day, probably not against PSG, but there will be a day where you will be able to cash in and we will be there waiting. We will be there to witness it. I don't know what to say about this game. I felt like Berjaya had a good strategy. Like, this was a team comp. If you get that one kill, you can snowball out of control.
Yep.
Akali is great with takedowns. Draven, of course, is great with kills. That's his whole game plan. But unfortunately, they just weren't able to cash in on anything. The map movement was in PSG's favor. They were able to clear out bot lane, even when behind. And you have to give credit to, I think especially Unified's build here, where he went for the Luden's Echo. And you could see K2, even in a solo situation, he's trying to go in, trying to close the distance, but he just can't. He doesn't have the minion wave, can't tank the tower in that situation, and Unified gets to stay alive through it. Very depressing amount of damage being done by Berjaya. They almost didn't have a say. Most of the time, they were just running away this entire game. It still goes on to 26 minutes, but you can see from the charts, PSG probably outdamaged them by a factor of 3, and we do have the MVP going over to River. Very critical backline snipes in these team fights. Another perfect game for him, and a 6-0-5 scoreline.
Yeah, and in that Baron fight especially, he was instrumental because of how much time he was buying with his kit. Using the Moonfall, using that Zanya's, just really playing that fight to absolute perfection, and of course, finally being able to shut down K2 in his stack. So really, he got the maximum. He got Baron, he got kills, he burned a lot of cooldowns, and most of all, he got the Draven stacks.
Congratulations to River, the Soul Crusher, the Dream Killer, and the Destroyer of Stacks. I miss my fat stacks, but that will be all for Game 3 as we head on to the second half of the day, where Machi returns to face on Hong Kong Attitude.